Right now on Morning News Now, seeking damages. This morning, growing questions about ethical conflicts in the presidency after President Trump acknowledges he's demanding compensation from the Justice Department in a case that would ultimately be decided by people who work for him.
All I know is that they would owe me a lot of money, but I'm not looking for money. It's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself, but I was damaged very greatly.
Meanwhile, chaos on New York City's busy Canal Street as federal agents in a show of force roll in, detaining several people as part of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. All this as the government shutdown stretches into day 22. We will bring you the latest. Also this morning, outbreak alert. Cases of the measles multiplying fast in an area frequented by tourists. The warning from health officials and what you need to know to keep your family healthy. Developing this morning, we are tracking fall showers for parts of the country, along with cooler temperatures from coast to coast. Plus, another tropical storm gaining strength and taking aim at the Caribbean. We will show you its path. And Little Spoon, big business. She's the woman behind one of the fastest growing kid and baby food brands in the country, now delivering tens of millions of healthy meals to children across the country. In our latest edition of Women Mean Business, I'll talk to Little Spoon co-founder Angela Vranich about her successes and her setbacks and what she is planning next.
Looking forward to that conversation.
And great to be back together.
Yes, definitely. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. And we're going to begin this morning with President Trump confirming that he is seeking what he describes, as we played, quote, a lot of money in damages from his own federal government. The president acknowledged the effort yesterday after the New York Times reported that he'd filed administrative claims seeking up to $230 million from the Justice Department, where the deputy attorney general once served as the president's defense lawyer. The president did not say exactly how much he's pursuing.
This New York Times report, which cites people familiar with the matter, says the president is seeking compensation for a couple federal investigations. One focused on Russian election interference during his 2016 campaign. Another, his handling of classified documents after his first term. Speaking to reporters yesterday, the president commented on the unusual nature of the situation, which, on its face, critics note appears to be rife with conflict of interest.
As far as all of the litigation, everything that's been involved, yeah, they probably owe me a lot of money. And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where you have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages? But I was damaged very greatly, and any money that I would get, I would give to charity.
More on this, let's bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake. So, Garrett, tell us more about why President Trump feels he is owed this money and some of the potential ethical concerns at play here.
Joe, we've really worn out the term unprecedented when talking about this administration and the Trump campaign before it, but this certainly qualifies. Here you have the president making claims, two separate ones, including one that goes back to the 2016 Russian interference investigation into him, another that involves the investigation of classified documents he retained at Mar-a-Lago. The president argues in these filings, which were done before he became president, that he's owed these monetary damages. Now, the way this system works is that the Justice Department could rule on this on their own, or the claimant, in this case the president, could sue. He's not yet done so. But if he did, as the president laid out in that soundbite, he would essentially be suing a Justice Department that he runs to have them hand over money that would come from taxpayers. And the officials who would make the decision at the Justice Department include his former defense attorney, the deputy attorney general, or the associate attorney general, another former attorney who represented many of the president's allies during some of these same cases. So an extraordinary legal conundrum here is certainly rife with ethical challenges, Joe. And another part of the problem is there's just not much transparency into how these decisions would get made. We might be waiting for some time to see what decision, if any, the Justice Department makes here.
And Garrett, who outside the administration would have the legal authority to challenge or block these claims from the president? And if the president were to succeed, where would this money come from?
It would come from your pocket and mine, Savannah. I mean, this is taxpayer money that would be handed over to the president, which he says he would then donate to charity. But it is purely taxpayer money. As to who would have the authority to challenge it, that's another one of the unanswerable questions at this point, given the uncharted territory that we're in here. A person might have to prove that they were individually damaged by this, who would have standing. And again, How would we even know when the payouts are being made are all questions that we simply don't have answers to at this point, given the unprecedented nature of what we're talking about.
Garrett, while we have you, let's talk about something else the president's been working on, trying to end the war in Ukraine. There was that proposal on the table for a summit in Hungary between Mr. Trump and Russian President Putin. That's been shelved now. So what happened there?
Yeah, I was reporting this out yesterday. It seems that a follow-on call after the president had spoken with Vladimir Putin last week, talked about the idea that there would be this summit. The follow-up call that was scheduled between Secretary Rubio and the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov to start the planning process did not go well. The White House described the call as productive, but Joe and Savannah, sometimes in Washington, productive is a code word, meaning perhaps overly candid or not especially friendly. It's not exactly clear what went on in this call. But afterwards, both the Russians and the Americans realized the sides were much farther apart on exactly what's wanted here. On the American side, it's a ceasefire right now at the battle lines where they stand. If that's unacceptable to the Russians, it appears the Americans have said, we're not going to go forward with this. We don't want to waste anybody's time. And so the war continues. Another bloody night in Ukraine last night with drone strikes across the country. So no action really to report on these talks that seemed so promising less than a week ago.
Garrett, also here in the U.S., we just spoke about this too. President Trump's immigration crackdown spreading to more cities yesterday. We saw these masked federal agents storm a busy Canal Street. This is downtown in New York City's China Hood neighborhood. Big show of force here, total tourist destination.
Yeah.
What do we know about what caused this?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security says they were carrying out a targeted enforcement operation, they call it, against counterfeiters. Then the show of force that you see there came out of what, again, DHS says was a crowd that became agitated and hostile. We have seen this type of thing play out before in other cities, bringing it to New York, a city that the president has certainly targeted in his rhetoric. Would it be, I think, a further escalation of this effort across the country that the president has been talking about to combine his immigration enforcement with the crime suppression tactics using federal agents. Guys, watch this space. In no other city have we seen just one of these targeted enforcement operations. Kind of once they start, they tend to continue.
All right. Garrett, thank you so much.
Well, as of today, the federal government shutdown is now more than 3 weeks old and the second longest in U.S. history.
We are not any closer to a deal to end the stalemate on Capitol Hill, and both Republicans and Democrats are still pointing fingers at the other. Democrats are now calling on President Trump to get more involved in finding a solution to end the shutdown. Some Republicans do acknowledge the president has been disengaged, saying his hands were full with international issues like the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Still, Mr. Trump is engaged enough to lay the blame at the feet of Democrats. He talked about the shutdown while rallying Republicans yesterday in the Rose Garden.
Over 1 million federal workers right now, as you know, are going unpaid. That's the Democrats' fault. We are doing things that nobody's ever done, nobody's ever seen. So all of this and the pain that the Democrats have caused during this reckless and completely unnecessary affair, I'm calling on every Senate Democrat to stop the madness, to let our country get back.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us with the latest. Julie, good morning. So the Republican strategy during the shutdown has really been holding firm on passing a short-term funding bill and expect Democrats to then ultimately back off their demands to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, health care really at the heart of this. The Senate has failed to pass this GOP funding bill 11 times. Neither side seems to be moving, but what are you hearing behind the scenes?
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. Well, the Senate is still going to try, maybe for a 12th, 13th time. Who knows when they're really going to end or stop trying to pass that House-passed Republican continuing resolution that would keep the lights on until November 21st. But what I'm hearing behind the scenes from sources is that there are already conversations about extending that date, because the reality is Republicans didn't expect Democrats to take this far. They really thought in the beginning that they could pick off and pressure Senate Democrats, especially moderates, who certainly don't want the government to be shut down. They don't want federal workers to suffer. They don't want all these programs to end. But that's not what happened. Speaker Johnson, meanwhile, still trying to blame Democrats and trying to put pressure on them. Take a listen.
This shutdown has caused to the economy and to the people of this country is really unconscionable. They're demanding taxpayer-funded health benefits for illegal aliens instead of agreeing to pay our men and women in uniform and provide vital health services and all the things that our most vulnerable Americans depend upon.
Guys, there are no signs that Democrats are just going to back off once November 1st hits, that open enrollment period starts, and people start to see the prices of their health care skyrocket for next year. This is a standoff with no end in sight. There's even talk that they might have to pass another short-term bill into the new year.
And as this standoff, continues, Julie, we know federal workers are still in limbo. Many are missing their paychecks. Some programs starting to run out of money. So the longer this goes, what might we see? And we just did hear from Speaker Johnson there. What are Democrats saying?
Yeah, federal workers are actually on track to miss their first full paycheck of the shutdown this week. They already missed a partial one earlier. They're going to miss another one. This is definitely painful for federal workers. You know, as you see on your screen, there are still no tours happening in the Capitol building. Monuments are closed. But even more critical than that, you have food assistance and benefits that Americans rely on starting to run out. Different states from New Jersey to Virginia to Florida, places with elections, by the way, are starting to warn people that they're not going to get their checks in November the longer this shutdown goes. And Democrats are instead blaming Republicans. The blame game continuing. Take a listen to Leader Schumer here.
At the end of the day, Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the House. They control the agenda. They control the responsibility for what is happening. What's galling is being okay with Kristi Noem getting a private plane, Donald Trump getting a new ballroom, Argentina getting $40 billion bailout while our farmers struggle, and then saying Americans don't deserve cheaper health care. That's what's galling.
It's not just Democrats criticizing the president for building this ballroom, which he's using private funds to do at the White House, or helping Argentina out. It is really Republicans, too. The optics of this are bothering both sides of the aisle. And they say, of course, Democrats, that the president has time to do that, but he doesn't have time to come to the table and actually negotiate with them over health care, which is what they want to see now.
Julia, I also want to ask you about a lawsuit filed by the Arizona Attorney General. This is to try to force House Speaker Johnson to swear in Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva. The Democrat won her seat last month. Johnson still hasn't sworn her in, citing the shutdown. Tell us about this and where this fight goes from here.
And Johnson is super dismissive of this lawsuit. It's being filed by the Attorney General Chris Mays in Arizona, and the issue is over Adelita Grijalva. She was elected on September 23rd, nearly a month ago to tomorrow's date, and she was elected in a special election to fill the seat of her father, who passed away from an illness. And so Johnson has been criticized this entire month for not swearing her in. He swore in other members earlier this year. They happened to be Republicans, especially in the case of two members from Florida. Johnson saying the government shut down. She won her special election when the government was already beginning to be shut down. Now, obviously, that wasn't the case at the end of September. Johnson holding firm on this, again, dismissive of the lawsuit, saying these rules are within the purview of the House. He did say once the House reopens, once Democrats provide those votes, he will swear her in. And he was very forceful that this matter has nothing to do with anything else.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you very much.
After this summer's measles outbreak across the Southwest, it appears there is another growing cluster in Arizona and southern Utah.
Yeah, there are now more than 100 reported cases of measles in this new fast-growing outbreak in that region that's home to an offshoot of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This comes as NBC News data shows that 77% of counties in the U.S. have seen a decline in vaccination rates since 2019.
NBC News medical reporter Erica Edwards joins us now from Utah with more on this. Erica, good morning. We know measles is among the most contagious diseases in the world. Walk us through what is happening in Utah and Arizona.
Yeah, hey, good morning. So I am standing near the border of Utah and Arizona, which is now the site of the second largest measles outbreak in the U.S. this year. And health officials here have been bracing for this, right? Because vaccination rates in these areas have been falling for years. Here in Washington County, for example, Utah, the rate is 79% of kids who were up to date on their vaccines. In Mojave County, Arizona, it's even lower at 78%. And now there's evidence that the measles cases are moving out of that epicenter and into other parts of the state, such as Iron County, which is just to my north. Vaccination rates there are at 82%. Remember, we need 95% to reach herd immunity. Joe, Savannah?
Erica, earlier this year, we saw a measles outbreak not far away over in Texas. We were talking about a lot, then New Mexico. How concerned are officials where you are about this current outbreak? What are they telling you?
Yeah, most of the 123 cases so far have been in unvaccinated school-aged kids. Now, I talked with the mayor of one of those affected towns. She said that her residents are actually really paying attention to this outbreak and they're taking action. Here's what she had to say.
I've never seen an outbreak like this before, not since I've been here. I just feel like it's brought a lot of awareness, a lot of education. People have been talking, studying. There's been a sharp increase in immunizations given.
All of the cases but one were unvaccinated. So once in a while you'll have a breakthrough case, a person that has a vaccine history, but most of the time being unvaccinated is what leaves you vulnerable.
So one area I'm also keeping an eye on is Lincoln County, Nevada. Our research showed that in that county, just to my west, vaccination rates there are just at 69%. Joe, Savannah?
So, Eric, I mean, what should families, especially parents, know about what they can do to keep their kids safe, especially during an outbreak like this?
Yeah, this is a complicated, sensitive, and sometimes scary topic for families. No one wants to see their children suffer, but health officials continue to educate folks on the benefits and the safety of vaccinations. As you heard from the mayor, people are paying attention. I spoke with one young mom yesterday. She'd never been vaccinated. Once this outbreak began, she took herself and her young son to get vaccinated. Guys.
All right, Erica, thank you so much. Well, we are learning about two serious incidents involving commercial jetliners. The first involves the windshield on a United Airlines jet shattering. Look at this photo. This was mid-flight over Utah, forcing it to make an emergency landing last week. And we now have new details about another emergency landing, this one in Omaha. It happened Monday night when pilots feared there was a possible hijacking on board. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has the details.
A weather balloon company's mea culpa. One of its balloons likely hit that United Airlines plane flying from Denver to L.A. at 36,000 feet, shattering the windscreen, sending glass flying into the cockpit, and leaving one of the pilots bleeding from cuts on his arm. Passengers on board startled when the pilot said they'd hit something and were diverting to Salt Lake City.
Saying, hey folks, I have some bad news. Unfortunately, the aircraft has collided with an object and shattered a window in the cockpit.
Now, Windborne Systems says the plane likely hit one of its 2.5-pound weather balloons, seen here. Writing in a statement, we are grateful that to our knowledge there were no serious injuries and no loss of pressurization. John Dean is the CEO. You believe that this was your balloon that impacted the 737?
That's correct. So given our flight telemetry data, it appears likely to us that it was a windborne balloon that struck the plane. Or rather, the plane flew into a windborne balloon.
Windborne says it's launched 5,000 weather balloons so far, each one transmitting a precise GPS signal and altitude. But somehow the plane still flew into it at 500 miles per hour. Now the company is reprogramming its balloons to avoid another collision.
We always work with a local ATC in the region when we launch a balloon, and we'll call the tower ahead of time before a launch to tell the FAA we're launching.
NBC News aviation analyst Captain John Cox.
The FAA should be sharing this data so that pilots are aware anytime there's a balloon like this in their airspace.
Meanwhile, a very different type of scare in the air over Nebraska Monday night when the pilots of a SkyWest flight operating as American Airlines declared an emergency and returned to Omaha. A faulty intercom system on board prevented any communication between pilots in the cockpit and their flight attendants. One or more flight attendants began banging on the cockpit door to reach the pilots, who were prohibited from opening the door in case of hijacking.
And one of the flight attendants had panicked because they thought there was something happening inside of the cockpit. So she started banging on the door.
Fearing the worst, the pilots decided to make an emergency landing back in Omaha.
Since we weren't able to communicate with each other, we weren't sure if something was going on with the aircraft or not.
Once on the ground, police boarded the plane to ensure there was no hijacking attempt.
Our thanks to Tom Costello for that report. It's important to note that there are multiple weather balloon companies that launch the probes every day, and the risk of impact is approximately 1 in 10 million.
Speaking of weather, we've got our eye on Tropical Storm Melissa in the Caribbean. Time for your morning News Now weather.
Angie Lastman, she joins us with the latest details. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Those weather balloons, so important for us gathering that data and helping us do our forecast. And speaking of data for forecast, we are still talking about an active hurricane season. We're winding down the season. season, but this looks to be that kind of last gasp. It's Tropical Storm Melissa, newly formed, winds at 50 miles per hour and moving northwest at just 7 miles per hour. Now, that movement is going to be key here as we look ahead to the next couple of days with the impacts to that from that forecast. Quick look at the Caribbean. Tropical storm watch in effect for the entire island of Jamaica. We've got parts of Hispaniola under a hurricane watch, specifically from the border of the Dominican Republic with Haiti all the way to Port-au-Prince under that hurricane watch. And here's what's going to happen and why we're so concerned with this system. It's only going at 7 miles per hour right now. That forward speed is going to slow down in the coming days, and it's kind of just going to hang out in this general vicinity. Notice we'll see maybe some slow strengthening. So by Saturday, we could see a Category 1 hurricane, potentially by Monday, a Category 2 hurricane. But because it's sitting in that same location and not moving a whole lot, we're looking at a really concerning rainfall event. So when you see these systems moving so slow, you increase that potential for rainfall. So here's just kind of a general overview of what you can expect if you see a 20-mile-per-hour movement with those storms, 5+ inches of rain. When you get to less than 10 and even less than 5, we're talking 20+ inches of rain falling in a general area. So this is what we're going to watch here potentially unfold for folks across the Caribbean. So Jamaica specifically and parts of Hispaniola, Cuba, anywhere in that general area, we could see anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain. And I think that might be on the conservative side. We could see some higher amounts, of course, with that. And we will consider terrain, mountainous areas, all of that to include that rainfall and the flooding concerns for folks there. Meanwhile, we've got a Midwest chill happening. We've got frost advisories, a couple of freeze warnings for 12 million people across the Midwest. Temperatures this morning into the 30s in some spots. Fargo, 32 degrees. We've got Omaha, 37 degrees. Madison into the mid-40s. And Columbia checking in at 41 degrees. So a cool start to the morning and also a soggy one in some spots. We've got rain across parts of the Great Lakes and the Northeast. We're going to be kind of in and out of this here for a little while longer as this system works its way farther to the north, up into the St. Lawrence River Valley. Notice it takes most of the rain with it, but still going to see some rain, wind, thunder, and maybe some small hail across this general region with that heavy lake effect rain continuing through the day today. Tomorrow, most of the rain is confined to downwind of the lake, specifically Erie and Ontario, but we will still see those chillier west winds coming in and highs only into the low 50s in some of those spots. So fall temperatures, of course, but a little soggy as well.
I was just in the Midwest. I can confirm. The temps dropped.
Yeah. Hopefully you were
They went down. Always.
Just a few weeks ago, though, when you were there in the T-shirt.
80s.
In the Chicago, it was 87, and then now it's not.
Yes. And I have a feeling we're going to settle into this.
Probably no 80s coming anytime soon.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ian.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, researchers sounding the alarm on a drastic increase in certain kinds of cancer. What doctors want you to know.
But up first, worry and uncertainty in the Middle East. Vice President J.D. Vance in Israel and expressing cautious optimism about that fragile ceasefire. We'll be right back.
We're back now at the latest on the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Vice President J.D. Vance arrived in Israel on Tuesday, his goal trying to maintain the ceasefire that the White House helped broker. We say fragile because both sides are accusing the other of violating the agreement. Against this backdrop, top U.S. negotiators met with recently released hostages. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley has the details.
Some of the first images of many of the released hostages together since their release. Meeting and embracing the two Americans whose diplomatic efforts secured their freedom.
It's amazing that we came together for us.
President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff were architects of the ceasefire deal that now hangs by a thread.
That I didn't see any victims in that room. I saw strong people who have come out under very difficult circumstances.
Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife Usha joined the pair in a huge display of American diplomatic muscle, all to preserve a tenuous truce in Gaza, where Palestinian health officials say around 90 people have been killed by the IDF since the ceasefire took hold.
Every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire, this is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end.
Israel accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire by attacking Israeli troops. Hamas denied it, accusing Israel of fabricating a pretext to restart hostilities. President Trump threatening Hamas again for what he said was the group's violations of the ceasefire, writing, "There's still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal." For Gazans who are returning to the ruins of their homes, struggling to find food and clean water, the continuing violence is a grim business as usual. They say there's a truce. What truce? Said this man. They violated the truce and claim that we violated it. All of this talk is false. But the violence is only one threat to the precarious peace. Hamas has struggled to return all 28 of the slain hostages' remains because, the group has said, many are buried under mounds of rubble. That sparked calls in Israel to return to war. But Hamas has said it's trying to recover the bodies, and the American envoys seemed willing to give the militant group a chance.
We're currently making progress on the hostages, the bodies that are still there. I think almost half are out now.
Hamas handed over 2 more bodies to Israel. Now only 13 remain. Their long-delayed funerals are being held this week, bringing closure to their families, even if Gaza's future remains an open question.
Our thanks to Matt Bradley for that report. Vice President Vance says Hamas would, quote, be obliterated if it does not cooperate with the terms of the ceasefire.
Let's get to developing international news now. North Korea performed its first missile tests in months, and this is just days before President Trump is set to visit South Korea.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome with our world news in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Joe Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. South Korea's military confirmed that early this morning, North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles. Now, as you mentioned, this is North Korea's first ballistic missile tests in 5 months and comes days before President Trump is expected to travel to South Korea to meet with other leaders there. South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said the missiles flew about 220 miles toward the northeast, but did not release more specific flight or landing details. Let's go now to Peru, where on Wednesday, the interim president, Jose Geri, announced a state of emergency in the capital, Lima, and the port city of Callao, following weeks of anti-government protests over corruption and organized crime. During the state of emergency, the government can send the army to patrol the streets and restrict freedom of assembly. In an address on state television, Jerry said the government is moving from the defensive to the offensive in the fight against crime, and that the state of emergency will last for 30 days. And we end this tour of the world in France, where the Louvre Museum is finally reopened today for the first time since that daring 7-minute heist in broad daylight over the weekend. However, the second-floor room and former home to the now-stolen crown jewels remains closed, and pressure is mounting as French officials continue their search for the 9 pieces of stolen jewelry, reportedly worth more than $100 million, guys.
Oh.
Guessing security's a little tighter.
No kidding. I don't know if I'd want to be there today. All right, Claudia, thank you.
Yeah.
Coming up, we are talking taxes. New tax brackets for next year could change how much you owe. We'll break down the numbers.
Plus, exercise for energy, the new research that could inspire you to get in a workout this morning. Your weekly checkup is next on Morning News Now.
We are back now with your weekly medical checkup. This week, we're taking a closer look at new research that shows an alarming trend in obesity-related cancers.
Plus, those popular fitness and diet apps that can help improve your physical health, while they might be taking a toll on your mental and emotional health.
Here to break all this down for us is NBC News medical contributor Dr. John Torres. Dr. Torres, always great to have you with us. Good morning. So this international study looked at data. This is from more than 42 countries. A lot of input here. Found that this obesity-related cancer is on the rise. What does that mean? What types of cancer are related to obesity, and what can we do about this to try to prevent it?
And you're right. What they looked at, 42 countries over a 15-year period, and they found that these obesity-related cancers that can be caused because of obesity, among other factors, including endometrial cancer, kidney, breast, thyroid, colorectal cancer, they found that the rates were increasing among older and younger adults at the same rate. By younger, they meant 20 to 49, older 50 and plus. The only difference was colorectal cancer, which was rising at a higher rate in younger adults than it was in older adults. And again, this was a worldwide study 42 countries, like you mentioned. So it's a very well-funded study. And again, they found out that these rates are increasing at a similar rate between older and younger adults. So they're saying there's something causing these to be raised at that level, obesity being one of the causes, but there are other causes as well. So what are doctors' orders here? What are things to think about? Well, first and foremost, remember, weight loss can equal cancer prevention. That's an important tool to remember. And there are a variety of ways to lose weight, especially now with a variety of tools out there. So definitely ask for help to try and get that under control, because that can make a huge step forward in getting those types of cancers under control.
That is a good segue to our next topic, because we got a study that was published in the British Journal of Health Psychology. It found fitness and calorie counting apps may actually prevent people from reaching their health goals. We know they can be effective and successful, but what could be some of the issues here that were in this study?
And, I think a lot of us have used these calorie counting apps or these fitness apps on our phones for many years. And what they found out, they actually looked at social postings, and they found 60,000 social postings of people talking about these types of apps. And what they found out is these apps use rigid calorie counting. And because of that rigid calorie counting, that could lead to some unhealthy habits and some mental health issues as well. And they said that users are experiencing a couple things. One, they're experiencing shame when they use these, because they have to actually put the calories in there. It tells them they're eating unhealthy foods, those types of things. On top of that, it also is saying their progress isn't quite where they think it should be. And so they're looking at that again as saying, okay, there are some unhealthy things from this to look at. So what are doctors' orders? Focus on your well-being, make sure that you set attainable goals, and just use these as a tool, not as a definite thing.
Really good advice there. All right, this last study, sort of similar also, it's about exercise. This one's some good news, though. Researchers found the more that you exercise, the more you move your body, then the more energy you've got throughout the day. I think we kind of know this sometimes. Obviously, there's a little bit of it, though. You're like, oh, I'm so tired after, though. How does this work? Tell us about it.
Well, what we used to think is that once you exercise, that your body would compensate later on and it would slow things down. And so exercise was definitely good, but we thought, okay, our body would compensate to a little bit extent and it wouldn't really burn the calories we wanted to. What this study found out is no, it's completely the opposite. Your exercising doesn't impact the activities or the calories you burn throughout the rest of the day. And so that exercise just adds to them. So the more you exercise and the more activities you have, the more calories you're going to burn throughout the day. And that might seem intuitive, but it's, again, one of those things that adding the two together gives you those extra benefits. Your body doesn't compensate, and active people end up spending less time sitting, more time burning calories throughout the day, which is extremely important. So doctors' orders here, they're very simple, basically. Number one, you want to stay active throughout the day. So even if you exercise, don't use it as an excuse to sit on the couch like I sometimes do and watch TV. Make sure you get up there and you move around. And also remember, the more you move, the more you burn. It's those little things throughout the day that actually add a lot of calorie burning throughout the day.
All right, great advice. Dr. Torres, always good to see you. Thank you. Good ones.
Financial news now. The amount of tax you pay next year could be changing.
Yeah, this is after the IRS made its annual inflation adjustments earlier this month and updated the tax brackets for 2026.
Here to tell us what this means for you is Investopedia's editor-in-chief, Caleb Silver. So, Caleb, the IRS says a lot of these amendments are due to the tax and spending bill passed by Republicans earlier this year. How are the tax brackets changing next year? What are some of the most notable changes?
Yeah, well, the big change is the 2.7% increase in the brackets here. So what the IRS does every year is try to adjust those brackets for inflation, because if you're basically earning the same amount this year as you do next year and you accidentally creep into a higher bracket, that shouldn't be fair to taxpayers. So they increased that by 2.7%. That's significant for folks who are trying to keep up with inflation. If you get a raise next year and you're filing those taxes for 2026, you may not end up in the higher bracket if you don't exceed that 2.7% threshold. But there's some other key provisions here that they made changes to. The standard deduction for 2026, that rises to about $32,200 for married couples filing jointly, $16,100 for single filers. That's about a $350 increase for single filers or a $700 increase for couples. But just think of it this way. If you don't get a raise next year, you might not end up in a higher tax bracket. You might end up paying less taxes. And there's some other key provisions that the IRS made here.
Caleb, let's talk through some specific scenarios. Somebody's salary changes by increasing, and then let's talk through the others. It stays the same or it decreases. How do these tax brackets impact people?
Yeah, good way to look at it is if you make $100,000, right, and you're trying to avoid bracket creep here, and you didn't get a raise in the following year, you might stay in actually a lower tax bracket. So if you do get a raise, if you get a raise that exceeds that 2.7%, you might end up in a higher tax bracket and have to pay a higher income tax based on your alternative minimum tax. A little bit complicated, but the big thing to remember here is that if there's no change to your salary next year, you might not end up having to pay higher taxes. You could end up in a lower bracket. And the standard deductions are super important. A lot of people take the standard deduction instead of itemizing their taxes. That's at $32,200 for married couples filing jointly in 2026, $16,100 for single filers. Again, a little increase there, and then changes also for the estate tax. If you die or if somebody in your family dies, that went up in terms of the non-taxable amount to $15 million, where you can pass that on to your heirs. That's up from about $13 million this year. $13.9 million.
So just big picture here, who are the winners, who are the losers? And we do still have a couple months left in 2025, so anything we should be doing now to keep on top of our taxes ahead of filing next year?
Yeah, so this is all again for 2026, so you wouldn't be filing these taxes until April of 2027. But if you are considering a change in your income, taking on another job, and it knocks you into a higher tax bracket, you should consider how you get paid very carefully. You don't want to wind up in the 37% tax bracket if you exceed those thresholds. That said, if your salary goes down, you could very well end up in a lower tax bracket. So know your brackets, know where you fit, and know if you're going to take the alternative minimum tax. A lot of folks choose to do that. Those numbers went up as well. Almost all the brackets went up a little bit. So it's a break for most taxpayers, but it is a break considering the fact that there's inflation, and inflation is right at around 2.8% as well. So this kind of evens things out for taxpayers. Big change here, though, for small businesses. They can offer a bigger tax credit for childcare to their employees. That's one of the big changes in the big, beautiful tax bill.
All right. Know your bracket. I feel like Caleb should have a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah,
right,
I like that.
Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it. Coming up, OpenAI taking on Google by launching a new browser powered by ChatGPT. We're going to look at the technology that tries to set it apart.
Plus, she went from building a business in her dorm room to starting a multi-million-dollar brand that's now a household name. For our latest edition of Women Mean Business, I will sit down with Little Spoon co-founder Angela Vranich. That's next. This is Morning News Now. We are back with one of our favorites, our series Women Mean Business, and today's guest is helping parents build healthier habits for their kids, one meal at a time. Angela Vranich is the co-founder and chief product officer of Little Spoon. That's one of the fastest growing baby and kid food brands in the U.S. I'm going to chat with her live in just a moment, but first, here's some of her story.
Little Spoon is the #1 kid and baby food direct-to-consumer brand in the U.S. Since the company launched in 2017, it says it has delivered more than 80 million fresh meals to America's children. The brains behind this fast-growing operation is co-founder and chief product officer Angela Vranich. After growing up in Pittsburgh, Vranich studied marketing at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, where she launched her very first business from her dorm room. It was a nationwide organic food marketing company called Sprout Squad that she ran between business classes. But ultimately, Vranich said it wasn't her dream and she shut it down after graduation. She worked in food-related TV media for a couple years before moving to San Francisco and launching her second company at just 24 years old. With her own money, Vranich made her first products by hand in a tamale factory near Los Angeles. Then in 2017, Little Spoon's website went live, offering a healthier, fresher alternative to most baby food on the market. Now this year, Little Spoon is officially available at 1,800 Target stores nationwide. From humble beginnings to a household brand name, Angela Vranich is a woman who means business.
Okay, and I'm so excited to have the woman herself, Angela Vranich, here in studio this morning. Angela, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your success. I'm so excited to dig into this, and I want to start on the tamale factory and how you were able to do this, because I think getting started, especially with something that is a tangible product that you're making, and especially one that people are going to eat, I think it probably sounds really intimidating to people. Like, how do you even start? How did you go about finding that location and really getting underway with production?
Well, we had so many doors shut in our face originally when we were looking for people to manufacture this product for us. No one had ever done fresh baby food before, so really no one was interested in manufacturing it for us. we found, of all places, a tamale factory in Southern California, and the owner of that factory had a very open mind, some extra space, and we talked him into letting us use a little corner of his facility. We outfit it with our own equipment, and we're able to use some of his people there, and we're really off to the races. We started making baby food by hand out of that factory, and we sold over 1 million meals in our first year, all of which came out of that tamale factory,
And when
which
you
is
say
so wild.
That is wild. When you say by hand, what do you mean?
Stirring food by hand, quite literally. Pureeing fruits, vegetables, stirring big batches, making 200, 300-pound batches at a time, hand-filling cups. I mean, yeah, it was quite a feat. I spent a lot of hours in that tamale factory.
It sounds like a lot of time stirring and pureeing. I think what you just said is so incredible because people might not realize this, that there wasn't a fresh baby food option, but I know of like all these as a dog owner, how many targeted ads I get for fresh dog food, but there wasn't anything for babies.
Absolutely, and that was really what gave us the idea. So we were just seeing this big shift toward fresh in the natural food industry. Like you said, 10 fresh pet food brands, nothing for babies. We were looking at the store shelf, and really all the food on the shelf was older than the baby eating it, which was just crazy to us.
Wow.
And we knew that there was an opportunity there.
What a way to put it. I also love the piece of your story where you started this with then boyfriend, now husband, who I know is like been such a partner for you in this. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I started the business with my husband. We also had a third co-founder named Michelle. And I mean, working with my husband has been so rewarding and so fun. A lot of people ask us how we do it because they say they would, kill their significant other if they had to work for them. But it's kind of all we've ever known. And I feel like we play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and building something with your partner. He knows what I'm going through. I know what he's going through. So we make it work.
And then the products, patented chicken nugget even, is that right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, so we just launched a patented chicken nugget in Target. I mean, one of the things that we love doing at Little Spoon, we make healthy food, but we want to make it fun and delicious for kids. So we made our super chicken nugget, which has hidden vegetables and a fun spoon shape, and we patented that spoon shape. And so really it's just about making mealtime fun and healthy for kids.
You mentioned Target. This is a massive partnership for you. I understand one of the largest actually that Target has undertaken when it comes to a food brand in these 1,800 stores across the country. First, how did this come to be? And then tell me what it means for Little Spoon.
Yeah, it's the largest food and beverage launch in Target's history, which is so crazy to us. Amazing. To think that, we started with just 10 flavors of baby food and now we're selling in 1,800 Target stores is wild. We really, when we thought about going into retail, because we built this business as a direct-to-consumer brand. We started in 2017. We have only sold on littlespoon.com ever. But today we have so much more than baby food. We have baby food, we have toddler food, we have big kids food, we have so many snacks. We sent a bunch to you guys here, and I know you've been loving them. And so when we thought about going into retail, we really wanted to bring that platform that we built online into retail. We didn't just want to bring 1 or 2 products. We wanted to make sure that we could really bring the essence of what we have online into retail, and Target was the perfect partner to do that with us. We're selling almost 24 products in Target across 6 aisles and 7 categories.
Wow, that's just incredible. You also, you're one of the only U.S. companies that you set your own safety standards, and they're even more rigorous, more intense than they are coming from something like the FDA. Tell us about how you made that determination and what exactly those standards are.
Yeah, so last year we were the first baby food company in the U.S. to set externally facing standards for our products. So we test all of our products for over 500 toxins and contaminants, including heavy metals. And it's really just about giving parents peace of mind. So they know that what they're feeding their child is tested and healthy. We know that, feeding your child can come with a lot of questions, and we want to be there to, answer those questions and just give the utmost of transparency when it comes to our food, because we work with some amazing partners. We source some of the best ingredients and really just want to put that knowledge into parents' hands.
I'm feeling like the chicken nugget could work for adults.
Oh, 100%. Adults have been loving the nuggets. We eat them all the time at the office.
I bet. Angela Brannon, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Fascinating, and congratulations on the Target partnership. A big deal.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you.
I'm surprisingly hungry after that. All right, more business news now. Let's get to the latest on Wall Street. Google Chrome has a new AI rival. NBC's Emily Lorsch joins us with that and some other money headlines. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning. A big announcement this week from OpenAI, the company introducing a new web browser with ChatGPT built right in there called ChatGPT Atlas. The browser lets the chatbot work alongside you online, summarizing sites and even booking appointments without you leaving the web page. It's available now for Mac users and coming soon for Windows, iOS, and Androids. And another streaming giant is raising its prices. This time, it's HBO Max. The increase takes effect immediately for new users and starting November 20th for existing subscribers. The premium plan going up by $2 to about $23 a month. The move follows recent hikes from Disney+, Apple TV, and Netflix, and comes just after HBO parent company Warner Brothers Discovery put itself up for sale. Finally, a monster toy craze is translating into monster sales. That's for Pop Mart's viral Labubu dolls. After Pop Mart rolled out its mini version of the popular characters, the Chinese company saw revenue skyrocket nearly 1,300% in the U.S. alone. And new trading cards were just announced, too. I wonder, Joe, what's next to keep the momentum going here for Labubus?
It seems like that's the thing, especially as we head into the holidays.
Everyone loves them.
All right. Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Coming up, basketball is so back, and back where it belongs here at NBC. When we come back, we're going to bring you highlights from last night's doubleheader that kicked off what's sure to be an exciting season for the NBA. So don't bounce. Morning News Now will be right back. Cue the round ball rock. That's right, the NBA is back on NBC, and now the new season's officially underway. One of the best times of the year to be a sports fan. The first game of the year tipped off in Oklahoma City last night, where the Thunder raised their first championship banner and got the season started with a bang. For more on this, the new NBA season, we're happy to welcome host of Front Office Sports Today, Baker Machado. Good to have you with. I mean, first, it's great that John Tesh is back.
Please, round ball rock never sounded better than after
I will never forget when he was actually the play-by-play guy for the Olympics a million years ago.
Yes.
In the gymnastics, and all he would say is, they stuck the landing.
People forget. How many things, John, from Entertainment Tonight to Round Ball Rock to the Olympics.
He's a Renaissance
amazing.
man.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about OKC, defending champions. Double overtime thriller against the Rockets.
It was amazing. I mean, what an opening tip-off. And by the way, you mentioned at the beginning of this, having NBC have basketball again for the first time in 23 years, which was amazing. We also got our first taste of Michael Jordan back on and talking about basketball. But yeah, this was a double overtime thriller. Oklahoma City pulls it off at the very end. You have Kevin Durant guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, fouling out at the very end of the game with like 4 seconds left. Houston has the lead, and Shai hits the last 2 free throws to win it for OKC, who on banner night celebrating their championship from last year. I mean, this was an amazing way for them to start the season. Also having Kevin Durant, his first game in Houston, back in Oklahoma City. People forget that's where he became famous, was his early days back in Oklahoma City.
Let's talk about the other one. We had the Lakers missing LeBron, it seems like, last night, taking on Golden State. The Warriors won this one pretty handily.
I mean, but the best part of this was Luka Doncic. I mean, he had 42 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. I think he was just one assist away from a triple-double last night, but it was no good given the fact that they were going up against a really good Golden State Warriors team that now has Jimmy Butler on the roster for a full season right now. He had 31 points last night. You had Steph Curry having a great game as well. And you mentioned the Lakers going to be a little interesting without LeBron. He's not going to come back until maybe middle or end of November, but that timeline is sort of TBD right now. But either way, this was a great West Coast matchup last night.
And now we'll have a ton of games later on today.
Yes.
Let's just look at the season, because we know the Thunder, the youngest team in nearly 50 years
I think
to
they're like
win.
Average is like 25 years old. It's amazing.
So are they basically the ones to beat again this year? Who else are we looking at?
I think the most of the sports books are basically having Oklahoma City as the favorites to return here. But we should note there are 2 other teams that could actually make some noise, and one of them took Oklahoma City to 7 games last year in the playoffs, and that is the Denver Nuggets. I think they have the second best odds out there, and the third best odds would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. One storyline a lot of people are watching this year, obviously, is what happens with LeBron James. Does he finish this year with the Lakers? The big rumor going around is, depending on how the Lakers season is, does he get traded back to the Cleveland Cavaliers by the end of the season and finishes out this year with them?
All we know is if he tries to tease another big announcement,
which will not go well.
No one is paying attention to it. All right. Who are the potential MVPs this year? Who are the players?
All right. So obviously last night, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is the defending MVP, has the best odds. And obviously last night he showed why he should be the defending champion. But don't worry, don't sleep on Nikola Jokic, by the way. This guy potentially could win his 4th MVP this year. That would put him in a very select company of NBA people who have that. And then also Luka Doncic. I mean, this is going to be his first full season with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's coming in. Ripped Luka is what they're calling him on social media because he's
whatever he's doing.
He looks amazing. He's in the best shape of his life. And given the fact that the Lakers are having to sort of set themselves up for a future without LeBron, this is now Luka Doncic's team, and this is going to be a great year to watch him.
All right, good to have you with us, Baker Machado. Thank you so much. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us. The news continues right now. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah will join us in just a moment. Right now on Morning News Now, President Trump's push for payback homing in on an unprecedented target, the federal government. The New York Times reporting Mr. Trump is now demanding $230 million from his own Justice Department, compensation for those past investigations before his return to office. Well, on Capitol Hill, a marathon all-night speech on the floor of the Senate, ushering in a 4th week of shutdown, stalemate among lawmakers. We're covering it all from Washington. Changing course, a possible peace summit between President Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin put on hold. Just hours after that announcement from the White House, Russia launching a deadly new round of attacks on cities across Ukraine. We'll bring you the latest from overseas. Plus, it's a controversial new trend in real estate that's dividing some potential home buyers before they ever step through the door. We're going to break down the pros and cons of using AI to enhance listings online. And later in the hour, we are flipping the script with a familiar face gracing our screens this time of year, Jonathan Bennett. He is the gay king of Christmas, and he's back on the Hallmark Channel this season with a Santa's sleigh worth of content for viewers young and old. He'll join us live in a little bit. Let's begin this hour with President Trump confirming a report that he is seeking what he describes as, quote, a lot of money in damages from the Justice Department. Now, the president didn't clarify exactly how much money he's asking for. The New York Times reported yesterday Mr. Trump is seeking up to $230 million. Sources familiar with the matter told the Times the president is demanding compensation related to several investigations that the agency led against Mr. Trump during and after his first term. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins me now with the latest. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. The president now speaking openly about this highly unusual demand. He first made a reference to it last week, surrounded by some of the top officials that he handpicked at the Justice Department, including at least one of them who would likely have to sign off on any potential settlement where the Trump DOJ could agree to pay President Trump himself. This latest episode setting up the possibility of what legal experts say is an ethically problematic situation.
This morning, President Trump's push for payback taking a new twist. The president discussing an unheard-of scenario where he would receive compensation from the government he leads for several prosecutions he faced before returning to office.
I guess they probably owe me a lot of money.
The New York Times reports President Trump is demanding the Justice Department pay him $230 million in compensation, according to sources familiar with the matter, who say any settlement might ultimately be approved by senior department officials who defended him or those in his orbit. NBC News has not independently verified the Times' reporting, but the president was asked about it on Tuesday.
I don't know what the numbers are. All I know is that they would owe me a lot of money.
Legal experts say the president's claims pose glaring ethical conflicts. The Justice Department telling NBC News it follows the guidance of career ethics officials.
I'm the one that makes a decision, right? And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself.
The Times says Mr. Trump submitted 2 complaints dating back to 2023 during the Biden presidency, related to separate investigations about Russian election interference and the president's handling of classified documents. If the DOJ did compensate the president now, it's not clear where that money would come from, but the compensation is usually covered by taxpayers.
If I get money from our country, I'll do something nice with it, like give it to charity or give it to the White House while we restore the White House.
That White House project currently focused on the historic East Wing, where the president is building a ballroom. The Washington Post reports this morning that much of that building has been demolished, citing this photo and two people who spoke to the Post. One Republican senator saying the timing amid the background of the government shutdown is not good.
I just think it's bad optics.
Still, President Trump is celebrating the effort.
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears.
And one of the nation's top historic preservation groups is now urging the White House to pause the project, warning that it will overwhelm the White House itself and adding that it may also permanently disrupt the carefully balanced classical design of the White House. The adds that the massive renovation must go through a, quote, legally required public review process. The White House, as you may have heard, is facing some growing questions now, Joe, over the transparency of this $250 million project that the president says will be privately funded. Comcast, NBC's parent company, is on a list of donors to the project. Joe.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. The federal government shutdown has now reached a new milestone. Today is day 22 of the shutdown, which makes it the second longest one in U.S. history. And there's no sign of progress, with Republicans and Democrats still at odds over federal funding. Overnight, Oregon Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley delivered a marathon speech from the Senate floor to protest what he calls grave threats to democracy from President Trump. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with the latest on the stalemate. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Things really aren't great. Democrats had held out hope that President Trump would be the key to bringing Republicans on Capitol Hill to the negotiating table. Instead, though, Trump has made it clear until Democrats are ready to vote to open the government, there's nothing to talk about.
This morning, a marathon speech on the Senate floor, with Oregon Democrat Jeff Merkley pulling an all-nighter, protesting President Trump.
I've come to the Senate floor tonight to ring the alarm bells. We're in the most perilous moment, the biggest threat to our republic since the Civil War. President Trump is shredding our Constitution.
This as the government shutdown enters day 22, with President Trump showing no sign that he's in search of a deal. Hosting Senate Republicans at the White House, Trump encouraging them not to back down, suggesting he would consider meeting with Democratic leaders only after the shutdown ends.
I will only meet if they let the country open. They have to let the country open.
A message received on Capitol Hill.
At some point, the Democrats are going to have to say yes for an answer.
Republicans saying pass a short-term spending bill first, while Democrats are demanding a deal on health care now.
Don't tell us to ignore this problem. Republicans have had all year to get serious about health care.
Without an exit ramp in sight, families reliant on government assistance are trying to hold on to their current benefits because they may dry up soon. Diamond Williams has 5 children and relies on SNAP benefits to feed them.
We didn't do anything, but we're taking the backlash of getting all of our benefits and everything else taken and removed from us for nothing.
Her story similar to millions of federal workers on the verge of going without a second paycheck, stretching every dollar and flocking to food banks.
Usually they're full, but we just are seeing just a much greater demand.
And as we said, the shutdown now ranks as the second longest in American history. We're now just 2 weeks away from key benefit programs running out of funding and then open enrollment kicking off across the country. And as the clock ticks, the two sides are not any closer to making a deal. Joe.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. Tensions are growing after ICE carried out major immigration raids in 2 major cities yesterday. In Los Angeles, an attempted traffic stop to detain a migrant turned violent. Here in New York City, there was a raid in a part of Lower Manhattan where many vendors sell counterfeit merchandise. NBC's Sam Brock has the latest.
Hi there. It has been a very busy last 24 hours in New York City after federal agents flooded the streets of Lower Manhattan in what DHS is calling a targeted and intelligence-driven operation related to the selling of counterfeit goods. There were heavily armored cars, clashes with protesters, while at the same time, thousands of miles away in Los Angeles, according to DHS, attempts to detain an undocumented migrant led to the discharging of a weapon and 2 people shot. Right now, the questions only growing. Federal agents wearing ICE, Homeland Security, and FBI vests swarming Lower Manhattan's popular Canal Street shopping area. Frisking and detaining at least a half-dozen men, pushing some into a van as our cameras were rolling.
You got people out here locking people up for no reason. I'm going here.
One person briefly handcuffed before being released.
They asked me for ID. I didn't show them no ID. They cuffed me. That was it.
Overnight, city officials responding.
Street vendors are not a national security threat. We want ICE out of New York City.
DHS telling NBC News in a statement that the operation focused on criminal activity relating to selling counterfeit goods, saying that as it was going on, people were, quote, shouting obscenities, became violent, and obstructed law enforcement duties. All of it coming days after a series of social media posts from a conservative influencer flagging ICE to this very street, known for sidewalk vendors selling counterfeit merchandise. Tensions also rising outside a nearby federal immigration court as anti-ICE protesters gathered. Tensions have been growing between ICE and some communities across the country in recent months, with dramatic confrontations and raids captured on video and spreading on social media. And yesterday, on the other coast in Los Angeles, tempers again flaring after a targeted traffic stop turned violent. According to DHS and the U.S. Attorney's Office, an undocumented migrant who previously escaped police custody rammed law enforcement vehicles in an attempt to escape. A DHS official saying in a statement, "Our officers followed their training and fired defensive shots." A bullet striking the suspect's elbow and ricocheting into the hand of a deputy U.S. Marshal. Immigration attorney Carlos Hurado represents the suspect's family.
He's a very pacifist man. He's very calm. So we find it very odd what's being said about him.
Back here in New York, and Governor Kathy Hochul is responding to this operation and specifically accusing the Trump administration of batons and pepper spray on street vendors and bystanders on Canal Street. That is information that we were not able to confirm with federal authorities, who say this is not just big cities, guys, but rather an operation that affected places like Idaho over the weekend and an illegal horse racing ring. Federal officials saying that their operational goals remain the same. Sam Brock, NBC News. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Sam. We are getting new details this morning in the criminal case against Mark Sanchez. Attorneys for the former NFL and USC quarterback will be in an Indianapolis court this morning for a hearing. The judge now overseeing the case says cameras will be allowed in court, allowing the public to view the surveillance footage and other evidence as it's played in court. NBC News national correspondent Stephanie Gosk is here with more. Steph, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Mark Sanchez does not need to appear in person for this pretrial conference today, but he will have to go back to Indianapolis for the trial itself. He pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including felony battery. If he's convicted, the former NFL quarterback could be facing time behind bars.
From 10 years as an NFL quarterback to years in the broadcast booth. Now, this morning, Mark Sanchez is preparing for a criminal trial. His legal team taking part in a pre-trial conference today in Indianapolis. The former quarterback was released from the hospital a week after Indianapolis police say he attacked a 69-year-old delivery truck driver, which left both of the men with serious injuries.
I want to see my wife. I want to see my son, my 2 baby girls.
Sanchez speaking to Indianapolis station WXIN after being booked at the Marion County Courthouse, but not addressing the charges.
Sorry, I can't answer all your questions.
Among the questions, what led up to the fight? Sanchez was in town to call the Colts-Raiders game. TMZ obtaining this security camera footage, which appears to show the 38-year-old walking between the alley and the street in the early morning hours. A truck pulls in. At one point, Sanchez is seen sprinting. The driver, Perry Toll, was collecting used cooking oil at a hotel loading dock. According to the probable cause affidavit, he told police Sanchez smelled of alcohol and his speech was slurred.
We are literally talking about people fighting over a parking space.
The driver told police he pulled out a knife in self-defense and thought "This guy is trying to kill me," according to the affidavit. Now Sanchez is facing multiple charges, including unauthorized entry of a motor vehicle and 1 felony battery count.
With the level of felony that Mr. Sanchez is charged with, if he was convicted, then he faces a sentence of anywhere from 1 to 6 years in prison, with an advisory sentence of 3 years in prison.
The driver, Perry Toll, has also filed a civil lawsuit against Sanchez and his employer, Fox Corporation, accusing Sanchez of causing severe permanent disfigurement, loss of function, and emotional distress. The criminal trial is set to take place in December.
A judge allowed Sanchez, who lives in California, to leave Indianapolis before the trial, but before he left, he had to be fingerprinted and booked. Sanchez has not been seen in public since being booked in Indianapolis just over a week ago. Joe, Fox Sports has not commented on this since October 4th, when they confirmed that he had been injured.
All right, we'll see what happens. Steph, thank you so much. After a wet night here in New York, let's take a look outside at a cloudy Midtown Manhattan. We've got all the latest updates on Tropical Storm Melissa and the odds that it may or may not turn into a hurricane with your Morning News Now weather. Angie Lastman's here with us. Angie, good morning.
Hi there, Joe. Good morning to you. We've still got hurricane season chugging along with Tropical Storm Melissa newly formed as of yesterday. We've got winds at 50 miles per hour, but as of 8 a.m., notice how much slower it is from just a few hours ago. That movement down to just 2 miles per hour. This is going to be the difference maker in how impactful this system is, and really the big headline from Melissa as we move forward in the next couple of days and look at impacts across parts of the Caribbean. As of right now, we've got tropical storm watches up for Jamaica and a hurricane watch up for parts of Hispaniola, specifically from that border of the Dominican Republic and Haiti all the way to Port-au-Prince. That means that we'll see some of those, of course, tropical storm and hurricane force winds across those regions, but the bigger story is going to be the rainfall. We'll likely see this system slow down even more as we get through the next couple of days. Notice how weird the cone looks, and that's because the system isn't doing a whole lot of moving as far as the center of it is concerned. We still have a lot of uncertainty with it exactly how this will play out, but we are expecting it to, as I mentioned, slow down and intensify, but at a slow pace. So a category 1 by Saturday, a category 2 by Monday. In the meantime, especially as we get closer to the weekend, we're going to see this heavy rain kind of start to pick up across this region. We could be at some points talking about 5 to 10, even upwards of 10 inches of rain in some of these spots across that region because of how slow it's moving. Notice if you have a 10 mile per hour tropical cyclone speed, you're talking the potential for over 20 inches of rain. And with this system, we are expecting it to maintain that slow speed here, moving through at least the next couple of days as it hangs out in that region. Otherwise, we've got some chilly air in place across the Midwest. Grab your jackets. 12 million people under these frost and freeze alerts this morning. 30s across parts of the northern plains and Midwest. We've got low 40s for Minneapolis, Madison, checking in at 44 degrees today, and dealing with a little rain across some parts of this area as well. So across the Great Lakes, you can see some of that rain. We've got some rain lifting across parts of the Northeast. It's a bit soggy. You'll want the umbrella in some of these spots here as you get out the door this morning. But notice we see some improvements. New York, Washington, D.C., you'll see some drier skies as the day goes on. As this low moves a little farther to the north, Joe, it'll take the rain with it eventually, but it'll leave the cooler air in place behind it.
I'm fine with the cooler air. As long as
you're happy.
that's all that matters,
Exactly.
Angie. Thank you. Much more to come here on this hour of Morning News Now, including Savannah's exclusive look at some potentially game-changing new tech using the power of AI to predict a woman's risk of breast cancer. First, after the break, a path to peace between Russia and Ukraine now thrown into question after President Trump reverses course on that highly anticipated summit with Vladimir Putin. More on that next. Welcome back. Russia and Ukraine traded strikes overnight following a diplomatic setback in the U.S.-led effort to stop the war. The attacks came just hours after a potential meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin was shelved. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the latest from Moscow.
Hey there, good day to you. The Kremlin is insisting that preparations continue for a summit between President Trump and President Putin, though the Russian government also saying that it needs its demands met before there is peace in Ukraine. European leaders issuing a statement saying they support President Trump's demand that there should be an immediate end to the fighting. Overnight, Moscow's missiles raining down on Kyiv. and a drone strike on a kindergarten in Kharkiv, while Ukraine hit a chemical plant in Russia. A far cry from the peace President Trump has been hoping for. The White House had signaled that Trump would meet with Russian President Putin in the next few weeks, but now that face-to-face on ice.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens.
After a call between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Russian foreign minister that the White House called productive, but an administration official telling NBC News Minister Lavrov was exercised, insisting Russia would not agree to an immediate ceasefire without guarantees. Lavrov telling a news conference that would be the complete opposite of what the leaders agreed at that summit in Alaska. A message officials say he strongly conveyed on the call with Secretary Rubio. Did Minister Lavrov raise his voice? Was he frustrated?
No, I don't think that he raised his voice. He was very tough in description of the situation.
Former Russian Minister Andrei Fedorov has close links to the Kremlin. What did the Kremlin think it got agreed in Alaska?
That Trump is supporting a Russian scheme, that first of all there will be a negotiation process, preparation of certain kind of peace agreement document, and only then end of the military operations.
The president also navigating his relationship with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who he met at the White House Friday. Zelensky overnight insisting again that peace will only come with pressure on Putin. Meanwhile, overnight, President Zelensky repeating his view that President Putin only responds to pressure and saying the US should now send long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine.
All right, Keir, thank you. In the Middle East, that fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas appears to be holding, even though both sides are accusing each other of violating the agreement that went into effect more than a week ago. Vice President J.D. Vance is in the Middle East along with top U.S. negotiators and met recently with released hostages. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now with the latest developments. Matt, good morning. So where do things stand right now on the ground? Are we seeing more of the same today?
We're definitely seeing a lightening of the violence that we saw earlier in the week, but that's been going on for the past couple of days. The fact that we're seeing so much diplomatic firepower from the Americans here in Israel really just goes to show that the U.S. is so committed to trying to make sure that this ceasefire stands. Not only those three men that you mentioned, some of the main architects of that ceasefire, but we're also hearing that Secretary of State Marco Rubio could be coming into town sometime later this week. We don't have that nailed down. We don't know his schedule, but it sounds as though America continuing to pull out the big guns diplomatically to silence the guns in the Gaza Strip.
So, Matt, Vice President Vance has been in the region along with those top negotiators. What was his big message yesterday? What are we expecting from the rest of his visit?
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple things that we're talking about here, because when we talk about this ceasefire, it's not just about the violations over the past couple of days. It's not just about the fact that there are still 13 dead bodies of hostages still left in the Gaza Strip, which is, according to the Israelis and the Americans, in violation of Hamas's commitment to the ceasefire. A lot of the talk is also about the day after, Phase 2, Phase 3. Who will govern Gaza? How will security be imposed upon the Gaza Strip? Which countries will participate in that? How will Gaza be rebuilt? All of this was met with something like optimism from the vice president. Here's what he said.
Right now, I feel very optimistic. Can I say with 100% certainty that it's going to work? No. But you don't do difficult things by only doing what's 100% certain. You do difficult things by trying, and that's what the President of the United States has asked us to do. I think once we've got to a point where both the Gazans and our Israeli friends can have some measure of security, then we'll worry about what the long-term governance of Gaza is.
So I'm talking to people who are close to the government, and the thing they're saying, the message that they heard from this not one, not two, but three American diplomats all in town at the same time is everybody calm down. Keep the peace, maintain the ceasefire, and don't go out shooting into the Gaza Strip and ruin one of President Trump's great foreign policy accomplishments.
Matt, let's talk more about what we are seeing in Gaza. There's the burial today of Palestinians who were previously held in Israel. Are Gazans starting to get the aid that they need, that they were expecting with this ceasefire? And what other developments can we expect now over the coming days?
Yeah, I mean, the Gazans are saying that, or what we're hearing from Gazans is that life has not really changed significantly, except for the fact that they're no longer facing the relentless Israeli bombardments, even though they were earlier this week in response to what the Israelis saying were violations by Hamas. Now, it sounds as though the Israelis had shut off access to aid or aid entering into the Gaza Strip, but only temporarily and only during those violations as described by the Israelis earlier in the week. Now it looks as though aid is coming back in. According to advocacy groups and aid organizations, it's not enough. As part of the ceasefire deal, we're supposed to be seeing about 600 truckloads of aid entering into the Gaza Strip every day, but the Israelis had said it might take a little while to build up to that.
All right. Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much. Coming up, the sound of no music. Broadway's bright lights at risk of going dark this week. Why its musicians might soon hit the picket lines. Stay with us. That's next. Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with another move by the Defense Department to control information coming out of the Pentagon. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with that story and more. Julie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning, and good morning to you guys. Let's start here in Washington, where yesterday I obtained a memo from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and his deputy ordering Pentagon staff, with the exception of the Inspector General's office, to obtain approval before communicating with lawmakers and staff on Capitol Hill. Now, this is a major shift, Joe, because traditionally there was an open line of communication from the Defense Department to elected officials. This new change applies to all staff, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And you can imagine lawmakers, mainly Democrats, at least publicly, are not happy. And it comes after Hegseth imposed unprecedented restrictions on the press, causing dozens of reporters to walk out of the building last week and turn in their badges. Now to New York, where a man was arrested for threatening to kill House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. But here's the catch. That man, Christopher Moynihan, was pardoned by President Trump on President Trump's first day back in the White House this year. Moynihan was among 1,500 Capitol rioters granted clemency by the president. On January 6th, he was among the first rioters to force his way into the Capitol and onto the Senate floor to try and disrupt the certification of President Biden's 2020 election victory. Now, Jeffries yesterday told reporters that, quote, reckless and irresponsible pardons have consequences. And finally, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays filed a lawsuit to try to force House Speaker Mike Johnson to swear in Adelita Grijalva. She's a Democrat who was elected in a special election nearly 1 month ago to fill her late father's seat. Here's the thing. Speaker Johnson is totally dismissive of the lawsuit. He repeatedly said he will swear in Grijalva once the Senate Democrats agree to reopen the government. Those are his words. But as we've discussed, there is no end in sight for the government shutdown now on day 22. Grijalva, meanwhile, saying there is so much she can't do, including having resources to help her constituents. And that is a look at what is making news in politics this morning. Joe?
All right, Julie, thank you so much.
Well, coming up, the AI debate engulfing another red-hot industry this morning.
When Morning News Now returns, we're going to dig into why some potential home buyers are divided over sellers using the controversial tech to enhance photos of listings. That's next.
We are back now with a look at how artificial intelligence is giving doctors a new way to look at breast cancer, not to find it, but to predict it. I got an exclusive first-hand look at the technology, which is just starting to roll out in hospitals. It's called Clarity Breast, and it's the first tool of its kind to receive FDA clearance. Experts say it could be a game changer when it comes to predicting a woman's risk for breast cancer. I went through the process myself to see what it can and can't tell us.
We've all heard of mammograms catching cancer early, but what if one could actually predict it years before it happens?
We realize the AI is unlocking predictive data hidden in the mammogram.
That's the idea behind a new AI model called Clarity Breast, developed by Dr. Connie Lehman at Massachusetts General Hospital.
Hello.
We reached out to see if they would run my mammogram through the AI. The AI isn't looking for cancer, but at my risk of ever developing it. But I'm 34, and most women don't start routine screening mammograms until 40.
I, though, am a little bit younger than someone that you would normally send for a mammogram. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. However, I think if we can get information about risk, which is a totally different conversation, of course it's worth it to do it earlier.
Most women who get breast cancer have the classic risk factors. About 85% have no family history or genetic mutation. That's why researchers trained the AI on hundreds of thousands of mammograms, not family histories.
The computer can learn the patterns in a mammogram in a woman that will develop breast cancer in the next 5 years and distinguish those patterns from those in a woman that will not.
The AI system just needs one thing.
The 4 views that are obtained with a standard screening mammogram, 2 of the right, 2 of the left, that's the only input.
I submitted my mammogram to Dr. Lehman, and just a few days later, it was time to hear my personal level of risk.
So, average.
Average.
Boring, average.
Yeah, an instance where I'm very happy to be average.
Yours is 1.3%. That is your percent probability, the likelihood that you would develop breast cancer in the next 5 years.
That number is just the start. Dr. Lehman says what you do with it is what really matters.
But we're going to want to do more at women at increased risk. We'd say we want you to have a screen at least once a year. And then really importantly, we probably want you to consider a test to help supplement your mammography screening. That might be an MRI or a contrast-enhanced mammogram or an ultrasound.
In studies, Clarity's predictions were roughly 30% more accurate than traditional risk models, which rely on family and personal health history. That can be a life-saving difference, according to Dr. Lehman.
If I pull the ones at high risk by that score and have them have an MRI, I'm going to find 4 times as many cancers as if I rely on the traditional risk scores. 4 times. So it really does translate to a very high impact.
Donna McKay is the CEO of the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which funded some of the Clarity research.
This is a paradigm shift from taking what is a mammogram, which is a diagnostic tool, and actually turning it into a predictive tool.
But Dr. Lori Margulies of Mount Sinai cautions patients and doctors on relying too heavily on the score.
So this tool is great, and it should be used appropriately, but it doesn't catch everybody who will get cancer in the next 5 years.
Clarity is working to get the risk assessment covered by insurance, but in the meantime,
what does this cost?
Less than $200.
The hope that this kind of AI could reach every woman, especially those who never imagined they were at risk.
Being able to identify those 85% of women being diagnosed with breast cancer that had no idea that was coming, to identify them in advance, we're really going to change the face of breast cancer.
So this technology, it's beginning to roll out at select hospitals around the country. It includes, Beth Israel in Boston. In the future, though, patients will also be able to just upload their own mammograms directly to Clarity for analysis, like on the internet, which is awesome.
So I know there are traditional risk scores which look at things like your genetics, your family history, and those tend not to change over time because those things are the same. But with this AI score, it can change year to year?
Yeah, it's such a good question, right? Because the other thing to think about there is some women don't actually know their family history. Maybe they were adopted or it's not discussed. This is this dynamic score. So it can detect something that changes in subsequent mammograms, and then that means that doctors can spot this increase in risk and then take proactive steps, whether that be MRI or ultrasound, additional screening to stay ahead of possible cancer and potentially catch it early.
The pros of AI there. Now we're going to delve into something that's a little more debatable about this. A new trend in the real estate market getting some mixed reactions from experts and customers. More homeowners and brokers are using artificial intelligence to virtually enhance those photos on real estate listings.
Okay, I see this all the time. The enhancements, they can include lawn care, cosmetic updates, or staging with virtual furniture and decor. Some potential buyers say it's misleading, but some agents say if done appropriately, it can benefit everyone.
For more on this trend, we are joined now by Bianca D'Alessio. She's a real estate broker and the founder of the Masters Division at Nest Seekers International. Good to have you with us. So first, just explain how this virtual staging works. Does it cost some money for people to do it, and how do they do it?
Yes, very minimally. But what we're seeing is instead of having to actually physically stage a home or an apartment, which could cost tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the size, you can now do all virtually. And I love it because it helps buyers envision a space. Instead of having to bring the actual furniture in, you could do it all digitally.
So yeah, let's talk about some of those advantages, because I will say, we were just talking about this before, so many New York City just apartment listings. Obviously, you don't see a front yard in an apartment listing, but the furniture aspect of it, I'm like, would a dining table really fit in here like you showed online? But there are some pros here.
So listen, I think it's very important that you're actually staging homes to size. Right. You're doing it ethically. You're disclosing. All of these things are very disclosure is important because people need to know what they're stepping into. But the biggest thing that we see in the market in general is vision. And this tool helps buyers understand and create vision for what a space can be. Walking into an empty room, there's no doubt it feels smaller than if it had furniture in it. So being able to see how many seats can my couch fit or how big of a dining table, if you do it properly, it could be very beneficial.
Let's talk about the risks. I mean, what are the things if you're looking to rent or if you're looking to buy a home that you just need to know if someone's using these AI enhanced?
Well, first of all, I think the images need to be disclosed that they are AI enhanced or staged. You know, another thing that I do with my properties is show what the renovation can be, but I disclose that the home needs renovation. What I love about it, though, is even if you want to renovate, you could throw that into a model and you could get the materials, you get the exact finishes. So if the buyer likes that finish, they could have AI help them renovate their home at the most cost-effective solution. What a powerful tool that could be. So the disclosure is the really big thing here.
Obviously, a huge piece of this, right, is money saving, that you're not spending the money to save. But if you have it or if you have a connection to a stager, is doing, like, really putting furniture in there better?
Oh, there's no doubt that actual furniture is the absolute best option because then you could get the actual experience. When you walk through, someone could sit, they could feel comfortable. You could showcase how the furniture feels and have that emotional connection with a home that only furniture can do. But I do think that as a tool, it is very valuable.
All right. Bianca, good to have you with us. Fascinating conversation. Thank you.
Great to see you. Let's stay on money news. The face of Facebook is heading to court for another landmark social media trial.
NBC's Emily Lorsch joins us with that and some other dollar-sign headlines. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning. The heads of social media giants are being put in the hot seat. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg will be taking the witness stand at a social media safety trial early next year in California. The CEOs of Snap and Instagram have also been ordered to testify. Hundreds of claims brought by parents and school districts claim that social media companies intentionally designed their platforms to be addictive, putting young users at risk. And Netflix is embracing AI. CEO Ted Sarandos said the streaming giant is all in on using AI to help tell stories better, faster, and in new ways. His comments come as Hollywood debates AI's potential impact on human jobs. Sarandos saying that while the technology can enhance TV content, recommendations, and advertising, it, quote, can't automatically make you a great storyteller. And how far would you go for a free advanced screening for a movie? Well, some this week shaved their heads. A special screening in Los Angeles for the upcoming film Begonia invited attendees who were bald or willing to shave their heads, all to match Emma Stone's bald-headed character in the film. And a barber was even on site to make it all happen. The film is being released by Focus Features, which is part of NBC Universal. Many fans saying the move made the experience feel even more immersive. Joe and Savannah, there's pretty much nothing you could do to convince me to shave my head. I don't know about you guys.
Gotta be more than a free movie, I can tell you that.
No kidding. Wow. I do really want to see that movie, though, because Emma Stone and that director have made some awesome stuff. All right, cool. Emily, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, coming up, we've got a very special edition of Flipping the Script for you on this Wednesday morning.
He's the harbinger of all things holidays, gracing our streaming screens right around this time of year with everything from sweet and spooky confections to warm and fuzzy Hallmark holiday classics. The one and only Jonathan Bennett joins us next to start your season off the right way. This is Morning News Now. We end this hour with our series Flipping the Script, featuring people on screen, on stage, and behind the scenes, shining a spotlight on diversity. Enter Jonathan Bennett. He's a host and anchor known as the gay king of Christmas. You could even call him the king of all holidays, for that matter, from hosting his top-rated Food Network show, Halloween Wars, to the equally popular Finding Mr. Christmas, the Hallmark Channel's reality competition show now in its second season, and any of the dozens of holiday movies he starred in also on the Hallmark Channel, including his upcoming film, A Keller Christmas Vacation. Oh, Jonathan, it is good. I'm exhausted.
I'm tired just listening to it. Gosh.
First of all, let's start. You love being the gay king of Christmas.
I do.
Right? I mean, who crowned you.
I mean, I think Mariah Carey did, right? Because every queen needs a king. And I said, Mariah, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Let's share it.
Let's start with what we got right now. So this Sunday is Halloween Wars.
Yep.
And then the next day, is that right? We see Finding Mr. Christmas. Let's start with Halloween Wars. What can we expect as well?
I mean, Halloween Wars, we're in our 15th season. And every year it just gets bigger and better because the contestants come on and see what the contestants did last year, so they know they have to up their game. So it's like the more the show goes on, the bigger and bigger it gets because like they know what they have to expect if they want to win. And so it's bigger, it's bolder, and the stuff they do with pumpkins on this show is absolutely mind-blowing. Even if you're not like a food fan, this is the show to watch to get your Halloween decoration inspo. Like, it is the best inspo board you've ever seen. It's like Pinterest come to life.
And then the very next day, we'll start to see Finding Mr. Christmas, which is still before Halloween. Because we know Mariah waits till Halloween's
and you know what? I thaw early. I thaw early, and she waits. But, yeah, Finding Mr. Christmas, we are coming into season 2 of the hit Hallmark show, and I'm so excited about it because what Finding Mr. Christmas is it's the search for Hallmark's next Christmas movie star. Yeah. So we take 10 hot guys, we put them in one house, and they compete in different acting challenges with the biggest stars of Hallmark. And one by one, they're eliminated. And the guy that's left standing at the end gets crowned Mr. Christmas, and he gets a lead role in a Hallmark holiday movie. So we're letting the audience in on basically the audition process of how we find our next Hallmark hunk.
And you're excited about this season?
I mean, this season 1 was amazing, but season 2, I say the guys are even hunkier and the challenges are even bigger. The first episode for our first acting challenge, I put the guys on skis with Janelle Parrish, Hallmark legend, and I make them do a scene while they're skiing downhill, and they get one take. And majority of them had never skied before, which makes for interesting TV. Yeah. Some of them wipe out, and it's fun to watch. And what I love so much about this show is that Hallmark does unscripted and reality shows different than everyone else. We have 10 guys that walk into this house as competitors, but they leave a family. And that's something that only Hallmark Channel can do, right? We do reality with heart. That's what we do. And so even though they're competing, it has all the like heart and warmth that you've come to expect from a Hallmark movie or Hallmark Channel.
And speaking of, I mean, I think it was a few years ago, I think a landmark moment for the LGBTQ plus community when you were in the first movie that actually featured a same-sex couple in there. It still feels like something that was incredibly important, I would imagine, to you, and you must have heard from so many.
Yeah, you know what? I got to have the first same-sex kiss in a Christmas movie on Hallmark Channel, and in the Christmas House in 2020, and then we got to do the Holiday Sitter in 2023, and it was the first time that there was a gay-led Christmas rom-com, and it's so important because you know Hallmark is the story. It is the channel for love stories. Hallmark is where we tune into to see love stories. So it's important that all love stories are being told in that space, right? To have a gay love story where you get to see that their love is not different than any of the other stories. And I think that's really powerful because what I love about Hallmark Channel is it reaches homes that might not normally watch movies that have 2 men as the lead. And I think that's a really important tool and a powerful tool to have where we're letting people that might not know a lot of gay people or might not have a lot of gay people in their life seeing that our love is no different.
Yeah, it makes a difference because when you see it, then you become more comfortable and it just becomes a
change the hearts and minds.
Exactly.
That's what we do.
If you don't mind, so that has meant a lot to people more recently. We do want to go back 20 plus years to Mean Girls. And part of it is because here oftentimes in Morning News Now, including Savannah right now, we like to wear pink on
She wore
Wednesdays.
pink. Savannah, I see that you wore pink. It's not Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
Oh, my God. On Wednesday. Look how young I was. On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
I've been waiting for this moment.
This is your moment. This is your moment to shine.
To talk about this.
Oh,
I've been doing it for 5 years.
You can't sit with us, Savannah. You can't sit with us. I can say it all.
Because I'm in
pink. Gruel. You can't sit with us. All of it. Yeah, you know what? Mean Girls... we didn't expect that Mean Girls was going to be the phenomenon that it was when we were shooting it. We were just a bunch of kids shooting the SNL movie in Canada. That's what we called it.
The SNL movie?
Yeah, because it was Tina and Lauren, and so we didn't know what it was going to be. But I think the reason that Mean Girls has stood the test of time is because everyone has been to high school, and high school is universal. No matter what generation you're from, the jocks are the jocks, the band kids are the band kids. No matter what high school you go to in America, they're all the same, right? There's the same blueprint. And so I think what that movie does is let everyone feel seen when they're watching. They're like, oh, I sat at that table. I remember those guys. So everyone can relate to it.
We have like 15 seconds left here, but to those kids who are now sitting in high school, who are maybe like where you're from in Ohio, and they're looking at you and they're thinking like, gosh, I want to be like Jonathan. What's your message?
Guys, I was once where you are. I remember watching TV and movies and being like, I want to do that. So just know every time you see someone in TV or movie, we were all the drama kids. We were the kids that were you doing exactly the same thing, having those dreams. And it works if you work it. So go for it. And you're like, literally, you can make it happen because we were once in your shoes.
An important message. Jonathan Bennett, thank you so much. Halloween Wars finale airs this Sunday on the Food Network. Finding Mr. Christmas airs Monday on the Hallmark Channel. And that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Jonathan, don't go anywhere. I need a pink picture. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.